say, okay, I have a lot of money, but you have no money unless you take profits.
When the first ever spot ETF was created for gold 10x.
And the only thing I really knew was Bitcoin at the time, so I just invested very heavily into that. Rode it all the way up.
What's up?
My name is Jeff. Even the creators have said it's going to be the predecessor of CBDC.
What that taught me was that I need to be self-sufficient.
A solid DCA investment strategy, and pretend the red sell button doesn't even exist.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
What is going on, degenerates, ladies and germs, boys and girls, ducks and squirrels, friends and family of all ages? Welcome to the DGen Roundtable. Today we're going to be interviewing Mr. Steven Bates. Before we get into the interview, we're going to do a nice little round robin introduction for everyone. But for those of you who don't know who Steven is a business and technology consultant with over 25 years of experience across the cyber security, privacy, software development, and business operations sector. He is currently one of the founding members of the Next Generation Gentleman Program, which guides young men to build themselves into gentlemen of the future. He has started a company called Branta, which is an antivirus-esque software security system, or not security system. I'll let him talk about it, but it's basically like antivirus or crypto, and it only just recently came out. And he is also the man in charge of Proverity Solutions, which is a cybersecurity consulting service. So, Mr. Steven Bates, how are you doing, bud? What's going on?
Thank you, Will. I'm doing well. Happy to be
Excellent.
here. Thanks for the opportunity to join you guys.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. All right, and so also on the panel, we've got Josh, we've got Jeff, and we've got Nate. Josh, what's up, bro? How you doing?
Nothing much, man. I'm just super excited about this episode. Been looking forward to it pretty much all week. It's going to be some great content. Can't wait to talk about the different things that we're going to be talking about, because what I loved when we did our pre-interview conversation with Steve was just like the instant chemistry that we had, and just, you know, the ebbs and flows that we had, and it's awesome. So the different conversations that we're going to have, the different topics, I'm just super excited about it. So I've been looking forward to this all week.
Very nice, very nice. Jeff, what's up with you, bro?
What's up, buddy? Same old stuff. Excited to be here, ready to talk about whatever we're going to talk about. And I think my chair just broke a little bit, but no, happy to be here, bud.
Excellent, sweet. Nate, what's going on with you, bro?
Hey, I'm here, ready to have a good old time messing around with the DRT token. That was pretty hilarious, and I'm still laughing my butt off about it. But yeah, no, we're here to learn, here to have a good time. And yeah, we're just gonna go with that for now, at least.
All right, sweet. Yo, real quick before we get into the topic of conversation, Nate, there was something that happened with your streaming that was gonna go on YouTube. You said you're having issues with the software or something.
Yeah, so unable to get everything set up on StreamYards, it requires a certain length of time of you like getting signed on and all that, and then it's like, okay, now you're gonna have to wait for a certain period of time. I believe it's like 24 hours or whatever. I'm like, oh great, so that means that I'm not going live yesterday. Cool. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just save it for either Thursday or just next Tuesday and be done with it. And be like, okay, I'm going to start next Tuesday then.
Well, cool. And before we also get started, I want to give a shout out to Zenith. He was unable to make it today. He got a little bit of sickness over the weekend, but hey, big shout out to Zenith. I believe we'll see him in the chat if I'm not mistaken. Oh, snap. And we've got Sloth, we've got Sarah Bates, we've got Fast Abdul, the Ascending Man, excellent, and Felland Lucas. All right, sweet. So we've got a question for Felland. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, bro. But we'll get to your question in a short minute here, Felland. Steve, can you go ahead and, other than the short bio that I've already given for you, can you give us kind of like a quick little elevator pitch about who you are, what you do, like what your goals are, and what are the things that you're creating?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Will. So you hit the high notes on that. I've been a technology cybersecurity consultant for many, many years. And I would say I took the corporate route for the first biggest portion of my career. And then a couple years ago, well, let's say 5-6 years ago, I got into cryptocurrency. So I got my hands in that. And then 2 years ago, I went ahead and spun out on my own and started my own cybersecurity consultancy. And then since then, it changed my networks, it changed who I hung out with. And so I got to the point where I connected with some folks and we started a young men's coaching group. And then most recently, I got connected with another person in my network, and we decided to see what we could do to help folks secure their their cryptocurrency transactions and their ecosystem around that. And so that's Bronta Software. My young men's coaching group is Next Generation Gentlemen. And then my consultancy group, where I do everything cybersecurity and otherwise, is Proverity Solutions.
Excellent. So Proverity is the where you like get together with other companies and you help them figure their stuff out.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. Sweet. So you said you have been in the crypto space for 6 years, and I'm currently holding your fantastic book. For those of you in the audience who haven't seen me shilling this thing over the past like 2 or 3 weeks or so, this is Securing Wallets by Stephen L. Bates, right? It is a super easy, quick little read. I think it's like 114 pages long, something like that. But it goes through like the meat and potatoes of what a person should do in order to just be a better cryptocurrency person from the perspective of like security and implementing best practices and avoiding all sorts of common threats and things like that. So Stephen, you've been in the cybersecurity space for 25 years, you said, correct?
Yeah, I got started in 1999 in that space.
Oh, geez, man. Geez, I don't want my age to show, but I think I was like, oh man, you said 97 or 99? That's like
99.
OG. That's like the OG of cybersecurity. That's like, I feel like that was in its primitive days and all that stuff compared to we are now. So that's super interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was when the .com stuff was taken off. It was when Y2K. Everybody's worried about Y2K, and really, I know what happened before then, but that was when things were kind of sexy around ethical hacking, attacking penetration services, and things like that, which is really, I mean, still out there. It's a commodity now, but yeah, I've seen a lot of things change, and that was actually even before really mobile phone adoption. And so when you look at where it is now versus when I got into it, there's been a lot of change, but the underlying fundamentals stay the same.
So we've heard about Web 1, Web 2, and currently we're in what we would consider to be Web 3 mode. Was that when everything was still Web 1, or was that when it was sort of kind of starting to delve into the read and write?
We were starting into Web 2 at that point, but you want to go back to the beginning. I started writing C code in 1992.
Oh man!
If you really want to date me.
Oh geez, that is crazy. So on the subject of writing things, right? What encouraged you to write this book? You said you've been in the cryptocurrency space for 6 years, and this book came out. Oh man, in 2022. Year. Yeah, last year. So what encouraged you to write this book?
Well, so I bought my first Bitcoin and Ethereum back in 2017, and just you figure out what to do. You buy it off an exchange. You find out that you might not want to store it on an exchange, so you figure out how to use a soft wallet and a hard wallet or hot and cold, whatever you want to call it, and then kind of sit there. Right, we went through the first bear market not long after that, so pay attention to what's going on. But then fast forward to the summer of 2020, which I call the summer of DeFi. I mean, that's when everything went nuts. When Uniswap happened, people started farming things left and right. And I was connected to some folks in my network that really started getting into it. And so I just dove in head first, alongside those peers. And so everything went nuts. I mean, you guys know what it was like. And I started helping people onboard or on-ramp from fiat into crypto. And it was a network that I was connected to, also friends and family. And what I found is that I would often give them tips on how to make sure that they cover the basic security items. And as I was talking to some folks in my network, somebody came forward and said, "Hey man, you should write a book." And so I kind of parked that. I didn't think much about it. I kind of parked it. And then over the next couple of months, the idea kind of grew and kind of grew. And I realized when I sat down and thought about it, I started writing out what I would call a guide and playing with some of the ideas. And so much of it was repeatable. So much of it was also me drawing on everything cybersecurity, not just crypto security. And so I ended up ginning out the book. And it was funny. I kind of crafted it out and then I put it aside. And then I think I wrote most of it in November and December. And then it just went from there. Released it initially as a PDF. And then I said, you know what, let me just do this right. And I went and figured out the whole KDP, the Amazon KDP publishing and self-published the thing and just got it out there and said, you know what, if nothing else, this is social proof. It's great. It's great to have in your back pocket. It was a fantastic experience. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And, here we are.
And so for the folks at home who don't want to go and buy the whole book, you can actually find the Gumroad course where he talks about the what are the 6 things that you mentioned? Dang, we had just talked about what it was. What are the is it the security challenges?
It's the 6 common threats.
6 common threats. All right. So for those of you guys who like, I highly recommend the book for sure for most stuff. But if you guys want to just get the PDF document of the 6 most common threats, then I would highly suggest you guys do that as well. And you can find that inside the links down in the description below. Let's see. What is my next question? All right. So it looks to me like the one of the things that I could say that if I could pinpoint the brand of Stephen Bates, it would be in helping better people, right? Helping people learn and helping people grow, helping people figure things out. And that leads me into the next topic, which is more of your body of work stuff. So I want to explore the Next Generation Gentleman program that you have going on. Can you tell the audience kind of what that is for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Over at Next Generation Gentlemen, I mean, we are teaching young men how to improve their lives and build successful legacies for their future. And if you were to ask, what is a Next Generation Gentleman, I would say it's a gentleman who knows how to take care of themselves, who knows how to take care of their family, who knows how to contribute to their community and their networks. And the way they do that is by collecting and mastering some fundamental skill sets across many key areas of life. And with that in mind, they're able to get a better and start developing an understanding of who they are, what they stand for, and they tend to then follow a path towards some kind of final destination or destinations. And we teach, we have a lot of course content over there. We teach a lot of different aspects of life skills, mental and physical fitness and mindset, interpersonal relationships, and then general life skills as well. And so there's an underlying theme of skills that underlies it all and really is kind of the critical point for success and for creating a next generation gentleman. And that is the ability to gain and maintain self-discipline and gain and maintain self-accountability.
Man, that is a lot. I like it. That's something that a lot of the young folks are missing nowadays, is this like general mentoring realm of existence. It's not really something that's heavily influenced in our current Western culture. I want to actually rewind a little bit. I'm looking through some of the chats that the viewers were asking us, and we've got a question back in the beginning that I meant to cover, and it looks like it's from Fleland Lucas. And question, when appropriate, for Steve. Hi, Steve. I am wanting to gamble out of country with Bovada. I'm not sure what that is. They instructed me to get a wallet and then crypto exchange. Why the difference? I think he means why the difference. I'm not sure what he's driving at here, but do you have an answer for this man? I'm not sure what Bovada is either.
I'll give it a shot. So first of all, hey, Phelan. And can you pop that question back up? Yeah, so gambling out of country with Bovada. I'm going to take a stab at this, Phelan, and say that they want you to get a wallet and a crypto exchange. So they might want to be using something other than US dollars. And they're probably going to want you to get a wallet and a crypto exchange that they have some kind of relationship with, or they have some kind of agreement with, and they can use that. And then that lets them, let's just say, that lets you kind of on ramp into their environment. And then they would probably take your USD, pump it into some crypto something, some token that they developed or they work with or they recognize, and then the gambling would take place in their jurisdiction, and then that probably takes it out of the US and makes it legal. I'm taking a stab at that though, Phelan, but that's what it sounds like to me.
I was going to ask too, like, does that sound something like maybe they can control as well?
Yeah, could be. It's like I've seen a lot of those things that they go offshore, and it's a tiny island somewhere in the Pacific, and there's an office there, and then that just gives them the freedom to manage things under a different set of laws, different set of regulations, different set of jurisdictions.
And I did look up Bovada. They are indeed an online gambling site. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, and then we got another. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, he said he's going to be doing it in Costa Rica. So.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Costa Rica.
Then we've got another question from Agent J. He's one of our panelists as well. If Steve could answer me one question, how compromised is the average person when browsing through the web?
I would say probably fair. I don't know. Fairly maybe is if that's on the scale of relativity there. And then I think it's also to what degree, like completely compromised, like, your passwords, your bank accounts and things like that. That's probably more on the rare side. I think it probably gets into various shades of gray where you're looking at things like your privacy is compromised or something like that. And I think some people are just maybe lose track of or not aware of what kind of personal information gets shared around, what kind of tracking happens, the tracking that would happen via website and cookies, and then that bleeds over to our mobile phones, and then that also then gets into location sharing, things like that. So I wouldn't say it's massive, but there could be situations where there are. And I think the saddest thing is when people don't realize it, the extent to which they've kind of handed over their personal information. And then when you tie that into phones and location tracking, things like that, I think it can be pretty remarkable sometimes if people were to stop and kind of get a health check and kind of do an inventory and think about it.
So just recently I had an update from my phone from T-Mobile, right? And my messaging suddenly got like, I couldn't send messages at all, right? I could receive them and I could make calls just fine. So after hours, and my job requires a lot of texting, right? And after hours and hours of trying to get it fixed, I finally had to come down to I have to switch my physical SIM in my card to an electronic version that they control on their end, and that was the only way to do it. And I have to do it, right? It's something that I have to do, and that was so gut-wrenching. So how screwed am I?
I don't know. I'd be curious, Nate, if they if it was part of kind of, I don't know, planned obsolescence of the hard SIM, and maybe that was whether they knew, how much they knew that was going to happen. Did they seem pretty aware of it? Did it take them?
Well, I was working with the not really the IT guys, but like I would call them like the almost IT people who are programmed to, hey, just click buttons on the thing, reading off a prompter,
reading off a decision tree.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm just like, especially right after their software update. They can't be smartphones anymore, right?
It almost seems like that it was something maybe they missed in the migration plan to their eSIMs. But as it relates to Sims, I think it's, and I think there's some legislation that either is proposed or just happened, but to give people like us, the end user of those things, more control over getting hammered with SIM swapping attacks and things like that. So I would say go into T-Mobile, go into your account if you can online, and see what kind of options they have for you to lock down SIM swapping and essentially require 2 or more forms of identification, almost like a 2-factor kind of a scenario before you actually can change your SIM card out.
I got a couple different questions for you here, Steve. So, as a cybersecurity professional dating back to the 1990s, what I'm curious and interested about is what was your initial thought of cryptocurrency when you first heard about it? And whenever that was that like right around 2009 when Bitcoin first started to come out, or did it take you a while to really truly understand the concept of it? And as a cybersecurity professional, somebody who, worked in that field, what was your initial thoughts of it and how has it evolved over time?
Yep. It's an interesting question, Josh, and maybe it's just how it came to me. I wasn't aware of it in 2009, 2010 when it came out. I have a 23-year-old son, and I'm going to say somewhere around 2012, 2013. I'd given him a laptop for him to use. And so, also was very, a concerned parent, wanting to make sure he wasn't off, looking at things he wasn't supposed to look at. And so I installed some monitoring software on his laptop. And I would check it from time to time. And to his credit, good job, Brandon. To his credit, I never saw him, sniffing around anything he shouldn't have been sniffing around. But one time I noticed that in some of his logs, or some of the log data, there was something about mining going on. And it was inside some game that he was playing online with his friends. And I prompted him about it. I said, what's this mining stuff going on? And he came around and he said, well, I'm mining Bitcoin. While I'm playing my game, it's mining Bitcoin. And I said, wow, okay, well, carry on, whatever. That was really the first time that I really became aware of it, just in terms of I had heard of it, but I hadn't given it much thought. And then now here it is somehow embedded into children's games, right? Kids' games, teenagers' games, and stuff like that. I said, wow, this thing must be really, legitimate. So then I would hear about it from time to time, but like I had mentioned earlier, I didn't really take it seriously until I would say the summer of 2017, where I started looking into it, started following prices, started getting information about it. And it never actually triggered any type of, let's say, cybersecurity, red or yellow flags to me. I was just fascinated with the idea of what it was. I read the white paper, and it was a lot of new terminology and new ideas. I've never really been a huge math guy or anything. I certainly, carried certifications that required me to understand the basics of cryptography and things like that. So I had that down, but I just looked at it and said, wow, if this thing's going to appreciate like people think it's going to appreciate, I don't want to miss out. I want to learn about it. And for me, the best way to learn is to do it. So I think I threw, a couple grand at it initially and said, let's see what this is about. And then, of course, probably months later is when the next big dip and we started heading toward a bear market. And I said, well, I guess I learned a bit of an expensive lesson there, because I didn't know if it was ever going to come back either, like anybody else.
And how much of the content that you put in your book were you able to fall back on because of your professional background?
A ton of it, like the whole structure, the whole approach, Josh, like you mentioned, Will, just about the 6 common threats. I mean, what I've learned over time is that if anybody can give you, 15, 20, 30, 100, infinite amount of security controls to use to improve your environment, and it's almost worthless, because I really have learned to look at the threats and how the threats can impact something I care about or something my clients care about. I look at the threats, then I can select the right kind of security controls to go and mitigate or minimize those threats. And so when I just use that as an example, it's like just being a cybersecurity professional, and the way I've always approached any type of security issue is to really, look at the threats and look how they might affect your environment. Because if there could be threats out there that just because of the way I operate, they're never going to really manifest. And so I don't need to spend any time worrying about those threats. So it really absolutely shaped the way, the way I approached it. And I hope that, maybe that's a little bit different or a little bit more pragmatic than what other types of books on the subject may be out there.
And then one last quick question that I have, and then I'll kind of stop talking for a couple minutes, turn it over to the other guys, is given the expansion and the total explosion of the cybersecurity job field, and when you forecast out the need for that sort of profession into the future, is highlighting that field something that you really stick to when it comes to the mentoring that you're doing of these young men when they're trying to figure out a career field for them? Do you find it easy to sort of mention that or highlight that field as, somewhere where they can make a substantial income and have a very impactful and rewarding career in the future?
Yeah. I mean, if somebody's coming into say the next gen gentleman group and they don't know, they're looking for a career or they're looking for a different career, it's certainly easy just with my background to give them tips there. I mean, from a cybersecurity perspective, if you take some time and you build some fundamental skills, you get a couple key certifications, there's no reason that you can't be, making six figures within a couple of years. And so it's fantastic, right? But you also have to have a propensity for that kind of, those kinds of jobs. And there's certainly opportunities to do that that are non-technical. And you can be a cybersecurity practitioner who's not technical, but the natural way into that is to come into it from a technology perspective. So I don't know, does that answer, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So I just want to go ahead and shout out Farmer Brown. What's a yob? Oh, Farmer.
We like Farmer.
He comes flying in here every single time and starts doing this. All right. Yeah. So Phelan Lucas, you got a question about exactly just wanting to clarify where, so a blockchain wallet, I'm assuming they told you to get a crypto wallet and make sure that it's not on like an exchange, like say a Coinbase wallet. If that's the case, something like a MetaMask is just fine, maybe like a Trust wallet. But see, here's the thing. The wallets on blockchains are kind of like the user interface for being able to interact with the blockchain. So you need one and able to do anything with it, right? And you need to be using the blockchain. The other part of this is to use an exchange to convert. So what they're talking about there is basically on-ramping and off-ramping. So when you take money out of your bank account and you put it into crypto, it's usually best, not necessarily best practice, but cheaper for the most part, to bring it in via exchange. And it sounds like they have them, and also offboard it back into your bank that way. And it sounds like what they were trying to do is have you do a very specific like gambling exchange that they have very specifically. And so, what they're trying to tell you to do is one of the basics of crypto, which is get yourself a wallet, a nice secure wallet with seed phrases that you own. And then number two, onboard money, get it onto the blockchain, use whatever exchange it is that they want you to use for your little gambling thing that you're going to do. And then when you have any winnings or anything that they want taken off back into your bank account. They want you to go through the exact same exchange that you used before. Does that answer your question?
Probably. And if it doesn't, go ahead and hit us up again in the comments. Steven, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think Nate's right. I think they just want him to. They're trying to show him a way to on ramp to crypto, so that he can start playing in their casino from his own crypto wallet.
Okay, dope. And Jeff, I know you've been waiting patiently. You have a couple questions. Why don't you go ahead and fire them off?
Well, I had two. One, I know you said that you had Bitcoin, you bought it, and then it went to the bear. So I wanted to know if you held strong or if you dumped it. And my second one is for if, say, the average Joe Blow was watching this and want to know what is like the best generic malware type of protection to get. Do you recommend anything like Bitdefender or anything along those lines?
Yep. Okay. So the first one is didn't sell. I not only held, but I added to. So I'm pumped about that. My plans would be to not sell for a long time, and maybe that's also part of the part of what I pass on to my heirs that way. So because I think this thing's if you zoom out on the macro, it's up only. That's the way I think it is. And then respect for the second part of the question was what kind of malware tools. I used to have a couple different layers, and I've just frankly backed off now, and I just use Microsoft's what comes with Microsoft, and just let it go. Nowadays, I'm sure there are products that maybe can do things quote unquote a little bit better here or a little bit better there, but I just don't find that it's a benefit. And this is coming from a personal use perspective, certainly not in the corporate world, right? You got to get into endpoint detection and response, kind of agent-based things. I think once you get into the corporate world, but personal, I just use whatever comes from Microsoft and turn it on and just let them tell me if they think there's a problem.
Good deal. That's exactly what I wanted to know.
Well, that's got me asking.
Go ahead, Nate.
Because I use DuckDuckGo along with Mozilla Firefox, and then I also have like AV, all the protection and everything there, plus NordVPN, and that I just kind of bundle them all together. And I mean, am I just overdoing it at this point, you think?
I wouldn't say you're overdoing it. I mean, if it's working for you, keep going. And unless you don't see it working for you, right? I mean, you should know if those things are chirping and alerting you and things like that. Maybe if you go for a long time without anything, then shame on them for not proving their value to you, and maybe you can walk off in the sunset somewhere else.
Well, this kind of ties in well with what you had written about in the book and what you had mentioned just a little bit ago about having a risk tolerance profile. I forgot the exact verbiage that you used, but it's like everyone has different risks. The risks that Elon Musk takes is different than the risks that I take, is different than a homeless person off the side of the street would take.
Yep.
And so determining what are the most common attack vectors that people are going to come at you with, depending on whatever they want to get you for, is something that's important for most people.
Yep. Absolutely.
That kind of ties me into my next question, which, Stephen Bates, what are the 5 keys to DeFi security?
All right. So 5 keys to DeFi security. The first key to DeFi security is to protect your recovery seed phrase. Absolutely, that's the keys to your kingdom. For those of you that have installed wallets, it's the 12 or the 24 words that are shown to you after you install your wallet. If I have those 12 or 24 words, then I can actually go and recreate your wallet here on my desktop, and then I can take anything I want out of your wallet. And there's some nuance there. We'll call it a wallet, and we'll say it's stored in the wallet, even though we know it's not. It's just your private keys, and everything's actually stored on the blockchain. But for ease of use, we'll say it keeps your wallet secure. So protect your recovery seed. The second item is use 2FA, two-factor authentication, in and around your ecosystem. So if email, exchange, any kind of centralized exchange that you're working with, just make sure you're using two-factor authentication. And it's the same kind of stuff that you should be doing around any of your financial banking online accounts and things like that. But second one is use two-factor authentication. The third one is to make sure that you validate or verify any person or application, website, decentralized app that you're using before you interact with it. And this is no different than you would just interacting with people in real life, but now you're dealing with it around cryptocurrency. You got people coming at you in Telegram groups or online chats, and they're saying things like, "Oh, hey, let me help you. There's been a wallet upgrade, and we got to." No, you got to validate these people. You don't know who they are. They're just a person behind a name and an application. So validate and verify your people, your web apps, your dApps before you interact with them.
I kind of want to take a pause and stick on
Sure.
this one real quick, because this is just what I've noticed in my own anecdotal experience, helping people in our community, helping or seeing other people in other communities, and like listening to stories kind of told. This is where a lot of people get scammed. This is where a lot of people get hacked at, is on this one particular thing, is they don't do a good job vetting third-party websites, vetting new exchanges, vetting new people, and giving away their secret sauce. So this is the thing, like if you're a common person in the ecosystem, I think that this is probably one of the most important. I mean, and all five are extremely important, but this is the one that I've seen like most people that are in between like beginner and intermediate level of crypto knowledge. This is where a lot of those folks get hacked. So that was my own little thoughts there.
Well,
you can go ahead.
Will, are you saying that if I send you 1 ETH, you're not going to send me 2 back? What are you talking about?
No, yeah, and then you're gonna get millions of dollars from your Nigerian prince that sent you that stuff in the email, and then all these other and if you don't forward that letter to at least 10 people, then your grandma's gonna get, I don't know, scoliosis or something. It's just it's all part of this big giant plan to separate people from their money. And so like to just double tap on what Steve said, you need to confirm the websites, the dApps, and the people before you interact with them, right? You should.
That's right.
Who was it? Ronald Reagan. We keep bringing up Ronald Reagan on this podcast. Trust but verify. You should, when it comes to crypto, like you should trust things as far as you know them. And if you don't know them, you need to figure it the fuck out and then definitely verify it. But I just wanted to hit up on that topic. What is the fourth one there, Mr. Steve?
Yeah. So for the fourth one, you're looking at only approving wallet transactions when you know exactly what's getting ready to happen. And so I'll give you an example there. It's like sometimes you're just sending cryptocurrency from say my wallet to your wallet. And that's a pretty easy one. There's an application dialogue that you go through. Where's it going? How much is it? What is it? You approve that transaction. Other times you might be interacting with a decentralized app, a dApp, or a website. And maybe you were told by somebody, hey, you should go do this thing and do this transaction, and you'll get some yield off of it, right? You'll get extra tokens by staking your tokens into this dApp, and you don't just trust them. Don't just trust them and go perform the steps. Look into what is that website, what is that dApp, what's the story behind the team, what is the is there a lockup period where if you change your mind tomorrow, do you lose half your tokens for getting them out early and things like that? And so it's just a little bit of due diligence, just being aware of what is getting ready to happen when you approve that wallet transaction. That's really what number 4 is about.
And then last but not least,
Number 5. Right. This one's a wheel off of don't put all your eggs in one basket. Or if you want to put your eggs in one basket, understand that if you lose your basket, your eggs are gone. So it's really have just a concentration risk management plan. Just have one and then execute it.
Excellent. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. So that covers the 5 keys to DeFi security. Real quick, I see that Phelan is continuing to ask for clarification in the comments. Phelan, if you can go ahead, go to bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable. It will redirect you to our Telegram chat. If you wish to join our Telegram, you are more than welcome to, but we'll be able to help answer those questions in a little bit more detail there after the stream is done and stuff. But for the sake of moving forward, I've got something from Zenith, and I've also got something from Brother64. So real quick, I want to give a big shout out to all the folks in the chat. Shout out to Bungalows for Bachelors, Brother64, Zenith, The Ascending Man. That's Nate. So that one, sorry, Nate, you don't count. Let's see who else we got in here. Phelan. We got Ramon Carrillo. Sup? I haven't forgot about you, Ramon. I'm still going to come visit you. Let's see. We got Farmer J. Oh man, there's some other folks that I'm missing in here. We've got Bungalows. I've already talked about them, and Fast Abdul. So big shout out to all the folks in this chat. Big shout out to all the people in the community. Big shout out to everyone. So we're now going to jump into Zenith's question. Steve, do you think that as crypto matures, we will see less Nigerian prints or support desk? What's your seed scams and more sophisticated attacks on a technical level from larger actors?
Zenith, I like your question, and my sense is this is when I think of the social engineering aspect, because that's kind of what I rope into the support scams and what your recovery seat scams and things like that. As long as those continue to work, people are going to attack using that attack vector, and so that's what I think about that. I mean, as it gets more adoption, maybe there's more awareness, but I think you're always going to have people that fall victim to those kind of things, and it's just like any other social engineering attack. And so then when I look at the more sophisticated attacks, I think there could be more sophisticated attacks. I don't know that they're going to be that much different than what we already see today. Maybe they're on a bigger scale because there is more adoption. But the smart contract risk, the bogus smart contracts, the pump and dump schemes that people are. I think those are going to be there. Now, if you start getting into things that are more along traditional corporate attack lines, where people are looking at centralized exchanges, which will tend to have corporations and corporate infrastructure and things like that, I think you'll see that as they have to do the same thing any corporation does around their infrastructure today, and they have to maintain vigilance and diligence around their security controls. So could it get more sophisticated? I mean, it's the centralized exchanges just look like another corporation, I think, to those attackers. And so again, as scale goes up, I guess you could see scale go up there too.
Yeah, so kind of like the bigger the fish, the bigger the ship you need to catch it, and the crazier the net and all the equipment and stuff. Whereas like little fish like us right here, it's the juice is probably not worth the squeeze of the amount of effort they would need to put into just like some simple phishing like PHISH. Simple phishing attacks like trying to find out your birthday, your social security number, your favorite color, your mom's maiden name, all that stuff is much more effective than like going after the little guy with crazy complicated tools. You're probably right there that dexes are way more of a lucrative thing. This is something that before his death that John McAfee talked about a lot. But you had something there, Steve?
Yeah, in the research that I conducted for the book, I was looking for real world examples, because at the end of the book, I've got an appendix where the readers can take a test and evaluate the scenario that I give them and see if they can apply the concepts from the book to understand what happened, what threat vector was compromised, and what type of security control could have done to mitigate that. And in all that research, the one thing that I've never come across is when people claim their wallet was hacked, it wasn't actually somebody using code to attack a flaw in the engineering of their wallet. In every one of those situations, it was some version of phishing that led to somebody tricking them into handing over their seed phrase.
Yep.
In just about every one of those things. That's the most common thing. So as long as that works, I mean, spam still exists today, right? Our spam filters have gotten better, but spam still exists today because people click on that stuff, and spam does produce results. And so it's just like cold calling it's automated cold calling for salespeople.
It also makes sense that as we get closer and closer to mass adoption, and as more institutions start to offer crypto products, that the sophistication of these attacks is just going to go up.
Yeah, so, and if you get into, that's a great point, Josh, because if you get into a scenario where you've got, let's pick a large bank, right? JP Morgan, whose CEO will tell you that, crypto's going to zero, or crypto's used for funding criminal activities. And in the meantime, they've tripled the size of their crypto staff for all the stuff they're developing behind the scenes. So, but at the same token, right? So now you've got JP Morgan doing something in crypto world. Well, that's some part of that's going to live in some kind of clearinghouse network behind the scenes inside their network. And so they're still going to have all of the same types of security controls and security measures in place in and around. They have to build that in and around their back end cryptocurrency systems as well. So they're already a target. You got to figure, China is already into just about they're taking shots at every Fortune 1000 company there is. And there's published reports where they have success sometime. And so, yeah, the more assets and the more valuable information, the more, where's the gold, where's the crypto, where's the Bitcoin? They'll be a target just like they are today, just in a little bit different technology dimension.
We've also got another question from Brother64. He would like to know how important a VPN is to use, in your opinion, and that he knows it's marketed as a security must. Just wondering how much of that is smoke and mirrors, in your opinion, Steve?
Yeah, I like that question too, Brother64. It really kind of goes back to when I look at something like that in answering that question. It really goes back to what threat are you trying to mitigate? So, I logged onto my computer today and I opened a browser and I went to Twitter. And so Twitter sees my IP address, right? The Twitter backend servers, they see my IP address. So do I care about that? I don't care. If I had turned on my VPN and then logged into Twitter would see the IP address of my VPN. And that's a server sitting somewhere from my VPN provider. So why would I care? So what would be the scenarios? What would be the threat vectors that I care about in using a VPN in that situation or not? It would be if I think somebody at Twitter or some government agency at Twitter is interested in knowing and tracing back, my IP address to my location. And if that doesn't bother you, then there's not a use case there to use Twitter to use a VPN. So I just have to look at it, Brother64. I look at it and say, a VPN obfuscates my IP address. And so if what I'm doing online, if it benefits me to obfuscate my IP address, then maybe a VPN is for me in whatever situation that is. It's obvious. It can be obvious to somebody who's hosting a server or a service. When a client is using a VPN, it can be very obvious. It can absolutely be known. If you have Netflix and you have your VPN turned on and you go to Netflix, sometimes it'll tell you have a VPN turned on, turn it off, because we can see you have a VPN on. If you want to use our service, turn it off. So it's not like it's a big secret. So, what else would be protected? I mean, there's some other things, but again, I don't think it's a big uplift personally. And again, it's unless you have a situation where you don't want anybody to know, where you're coming from or what your IP address is. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts around that too, because
I've actually have tried to use like Coinbase a time or two, and I've had my VPN on. It's like, no, sorry, like turn your VPN off, and then we'll allow you.
Right.
Binance has done that to me a lot too.
Yep. Yeah. So and just so think I think of VPN use as an attempt to protect certain aspects of privacy. So if I think about that from a broader privacy scale, and you guys have come across them too. I come across people all the time that they almost seem paranoid about the privacy aspect and don't do this and don't do that. And there's certainly valid reasons for that from time to time. But I just always see, if I end up in a conversation with somebody and I say, well, what threats are you trying to protect against? Many times they can't articulate what the specific threat is, and then therefore kind of justify what their paranoia is about. And heck, if you're not doing anything illegal, how far do you have to go? And then if you are doing something illegal, it's just a matter of time before a sophisticated government tracks you down anyway.
So on the subject of the 6 threats, I think we're gonna jump into the 6 threats after. I've got one question from Farmer Brown, and then Jeff, I'm gonna throw it over to you to ask some questions, and then after that, we're gonna cover the 6 most common threats in DeFi. So, from Farmer Brown 310, how about interacting with mysterious coins that show up in your wallet? I think this is kind of a facetious question. But Steve, should people in cryptocurrency interact with random mysterious coins that show up in their wallets?
Only if they want bad things to happen.
Yes, there is no free lunch with anything in life, guys. So if you guys get coins showing up in your wallet, don't touch them. Don't try and sell them. Don't swap them, because MetaMask is going to ask you, or whatever your wallet is, they're going to ask you like that little permission subset when you go to interact with these coins, right? You can do some dives on them. You can look up the contract address on Etherscan, and you can like ask around on Twitter like what these coins is. But generally, they're pretty like obfuscated or low information coins out there. So I would just very strongly suggest, in congruence with Steve here, that you just don't touch these coins, because they're pretty much all bad bets.
Yeah,
Jeff,
the funny thing was, like I'm one of the more degen guys, right? And I had one. I just simply connected to one of those wallet trackers or portfolio trackers, and it was CoinStats, if I remember correctly. And they automatically give you their coin, their little token, for creating an account with them. And so I randomly had this show up, and I was like, what is this? I don't even know what that is. And I was just like, I'm not touching it. I haven't touched it to this day, actually. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but I'm still like, nah.
Yeah. That caused me to ask a question here. So are you guys going to do some airdrops for DRT?
Nope. Not that I am saying that definitively. There will be no airdrops for DRT, right? So you guys have heard it here from the horse's mouth. The people who have DRT, you can go and buy it on any decentralized exchange. It's out there. There's quite a large liquidity pool right now. So if you want DRT, you have to go and buy it off of a DEX. But we're not going to send DRT, or at least I'm not. Nobody on the DGen Roundtable is going to send DRT straight to your wallet. It was made live on stream. It was all put in this giant liquidity pool. There were some god whales out there that bought a bunch of it, you know, but if you guys get DRT for free, it did not come from us, right? And if there's a different DRT, actually, one of you
Shout
guys,
out
can you
Dre-
grab the
shout out
contract
Dre
address?
and Jeff, and I'll go grab that for you real quick.
Yeah, could you guys grab the contract address so that way, like, the folks in the chat can copy and paste the literal DRT contract address into the chat and stuff, because
Also,
we don't want people going after.
Let me put
crazy
something
coins.
out. Okay, this coin was created for demonstration purposes. Okay, I want everybody to understand that that's watching live and that's watching on the replay. This coin was created as demonstration purposes. All right, do with that what you will. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Josh, listen to this. I'm just for fun on Deck Screener right now, and DRT is the second best performing coin on Pulse Chain on the 6-hour chart, and it's the third best performing coin on the 24-hour chart.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
it was
Y'all are killing me over
created
here.
for demonstration purposes only.
That was a good episode too. I'm not gonna lie, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I think with a little
Oh,
bit more,
God.
little bit more focus on marketing, you guys might be sitting on a hidden gem here.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's something that we have to think about. Like, we've kind of opened Pandora's box, and there's no real going back from it now. But yeah, it's definitely fun. Yeah, so thank you, Sloth. Shout out to Crypto Sloth. I saw you earlier in the chat. Big shout out to Sloth. If you guys are not already subbed to Sloth, go over to YouTube search bar, type in Crypto Sloth 369, find his channel. It's like the only crypto guy with like sloth things everywhere. And go give him a sub. Check out his website. He's a super cool dude. Highly recommend him. He's a good person. I met him personally over in Vegas. We hung out for the crypto mindset meetup and stuff. It was awesome. He's a good guy, and he taught us how to make coins. And now we've got this silly little meme coin that has our brand associated to it. So that's pretty fun as well.
Now you just got to come up with a use case. I got a couple ideas in my head.
Well, so like, it already exists. The code already exists. I don't know if there's any way to edit the code or whatever, but like, we can probably find some way. Like, we were I think talking in the background about like thinking like, hey, if you have this stuff in your wallet, then like, you know, there's certain like code applications that you can do with websites. I was listening to Sloth actually stream about it, where he was saying that like, there's websites that will sort of kind of gatekeep. When you connect your wallet to them, they can determine if you have or do not have an NFT held in your wallet, and therefore you will, like, it's kind of like a password and login, but, you know, verified by blockchain instead of like by memory or anything. So it will determine whether or not you're worthy to enter the website based on NFT ownership and stuff. And so this is part of the threats that Steve talks about, is like, when you're interacting with websites, you have to know what you're doing, right? So if you're just going to some random stranger's website, and it's saying like, hey, connect your wallet to this thing for this, that, and the other reason, like, you know, you need to know what you're doing before you go and do it. Jeff, I want to turn it over to you for that question that you have been so patiently waiting to ask.
It was a similar question. I was just asking Steve, what is he was speaking about seed phrases and wallets. Is there a certain wallet he recommends, or what do you like?
For like a software wallet in the browser. Yeah, I'm good with MetaMask. It's super diverse. I'm sure there are things there are wallets that have maybe more features and functions. I just find that it serves my purpose well. And then I'm good with Ledger or Trezor. I use a Trezor, but I know I've worked with people that use Ledgers just fine. What I'm starting to see emerge that's a little bit concerning around privacy. And if I'm taking this one researcher at face value, they've got some, what I would call some Web 2 tracking enabled in and around, whether it's the hardware wallet on Ledger or Trezor, in their Ledger or Trezor suites. And then I think they're starting to do some research and finding some kind of disturbing things. So I think we're going to see maybe some changes come around from some of those vendors, if they're not already there, just in terms of being able to turn off what you would call Web 2 tracking. it's application level debugging is really what it looks like in there. So, but
I know
you got that everywhere. So,
Well, I remember I read, and I could be wrong, but it was about Ledger was coming up with some type of seed recovery for people were freaking out about Ledger, and that's why Trezor sales shot up. They were saying that if like I think Ledger's French. I think if they said if like the French government like subpoenaed them for like seed phrases, they'd be like, yes, we'll give it to you. People didn't like that. People didn't, and then I remember Trezor came out with all their little memes and ads are like, we will not do that. So I know there was sales shot up because of that.
Well, I think that's right. And when that happened, it seemed to me, and of course, hindsight's 2020, but it seemed to have been an awful simple thing for somebody on the Ledger side to maybe have just, put a Twitter poll out there or something and said, hey, what if we do this? What do you guys think? And they could have gotten their feedback early before they made some major missteps, because it was a PR nightmare. It was, there's no excuse for making those kind of mistakes in that space, I think. So I agree with you there.
On that note, I want to rewind a little bit and go back towards the threat scenarios. So this is one of the threat scenarios. I believe, no, not something about. Steve, can you go through can you do a real quick elevator pitch of what are the 6 most common threats in DeFi?
Yeah, and the way these are structured, it's looking at it almost backs into a little bit as like there's different scenarios that could happen. So the first one, let's say, is somebody is going to take your digital assets, your tokens, whatever the case may be. It's going to be from your centralized exchange. So that's the first one.
Yep.
And then the second one then is going to be just hand in hand with that, which is they're going to try to take that from your decentralized wallet, your non-custodial wallet. So just for those in the audience, the difference being, if I sign into an exchange, I can store my tokens on exchange, but I don't control the recovery seed phrase there. I'm trusting them to not mess with my tokens. If I download those tokens or store those in my own software or hardware wallet, it's considered non-custodial because there's no custodian taking care of that for me. That's on me. So that would be another threat for somebody coming in there to take your tokens or to come at you. The third one then is what you would call smart contract risk. Sitting behind these web applications that you might interact with to procure or move or otherwise manipulate your tokens are smart contracts. And smart contracts are a type of code. And so just like with any code, there can be defects in that code that lead to security flaws, gaps, holes, whatever the case may be, or there can be malicious intent behind that. There can be some code developed that someplace down the road is meant to somehow take tokens away. So take your tokens from an exchange, take your tokens from your own wallet, or you've got some kind of smart contract risk. And then the fifth one then becomes a little bit back to the exchange, but the exchange, they can freeze or otherwise freeze your tokens or lock your accounts. And then what hadn't happened yet when I wrote the book was the FTX debacle, the exchange that went away. It's a similar kind of thing. Instead of an exchange freezing your token or locks your account, the exchange could just go insolvent and your tokens are gone as well. So that's the fourth one. The fifth one then becomes, you have created a wallet, you've got it on your laptop, you've stored tokens and cryptocurrency in that wallet associated with your laptop, and then you don't have your seed phrase and you throw your laptop away. It ends up at the bottom of a landfill, and you're never going to get that back. So that's the fifth one, is you do something stupid and lose your seed phrase and lose access to the wallet, and without your seed phrase you can't recover it. And then the sixth one is something that people don't like to talk about, but the way you lose that last one is you die or become, end up in an otherwise vegetative state. And so, you've lost them. You don't need them anymore in that situation, but you sure would like your family, your heirs to get that. And so that's the other way you lose access to your tokens.
That is a good summation of pretty much all the attack vector, or not attack vectors, but the big threat scenarios. I gotta say, my most favorite when you were describing like the way that people, or the way that these threat scenarios are, when you're how would you describe attack vectors? Attack vectors are like,
yeah, it's the way they manifest, right?
Yeah, there you go. So like the death or the whatever, when you were talking about attack vectors, you had mentioned wrench attacks. And I had heard this a couple times from other OGs, and I never really knew what it meant, like a wrench attack. And I'd never asked the question. And then in your book, you're talking about like somebody literally walks up behind you and like hits you with a wrench and says like, now give me your seed phrases or I'll kill you or whatever. And it's just like, oh shit, like it finally like dawned on me. So that was one of my more favorite parts of your book in there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's always like, even today, we're always at risk of a brute force attack, right? You could have everything tied up, buttoned up, but then if somebody threatened bodily harm, then you're gonna have to have a decision to make, right? And you hear people. I mean, now you talk about operational security or OPSEC, right? If people are running around talking about how that they've got 7 figures of Bitcoin or stuff that they hold on to in their wallet, and they're bragging about it on social media, then that they can create a target for themselves, literally, to get it's basically a mugging.
Yeah.
They can get accosted, and if they know who they are, then they'll get held ransom for them to give up their seed phrase or transfer some money somewhere.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that people need to pay attention to. Like, the more public you are, the more public. So like, I don't know how crazy our little channel here is going to grow in popularity, but at some point, like if we ever talk about like the specific places that we live, or like the like names and phone numbers and emails and whatnot, like that opens up a vector potentially later on in the future and stuff. So this is something for folks to think about. I personally, I live a very, very mobile lifestyle, so I would imagine it would be harder for folks to pin me down and get me, but for people that don't do that sort of thing, this is something like very serious to consider, is these brute force attacks. I'm going to do a very smooth transition here, and we're going to go back to talking about the Next Gen Gentleman. So you had mentioned before that the Next Gen Gentleman is a group of folks that are all focused on self-betterment, and then you and some other gentlemen sort of kind of mentor them and teach them about it. I had looked up your guys' YouTube channel earlier, Next Gen Gentleman on YouTube, youtube.com/@NextGenGentleman, and it's quite substantial stuff. You guys have a lot of content out. It looks like so far you've got 65 videos, and it seems to be like a whole bunch of good stuff for young men to go through it. And it looks like it more or less focuses on like dating questions, how to become more physically fit, being aware of like finance and fitness and all sorts of other stuff like that. Can you kind of sort of give us a little bit more expanded view on the Next Generation Gentleman, and then we'll open up the conversation for questions and things.
Yeah, certainly will. So we have about I don't know, over 6 hours worth of online training content associated with Next Generation Gentleman. And you touched on just the right things. It's about mental and physical fitness. It's about interpersonal relationships and those kinds of dynamics, and then life skills in general. And so I've got a partner who works with me. There's 3 coaches, and one of my coaching partners is a former D1 Division I strength and conditioning coach. And so he is absolutely fantastic at programming physical fitness side of the training and teachings and the curriculum. But he also is absolutely from that as well. He's got a lot of experience around just mental discipline and mental mindset stuff to go with that. And then my other coaching partner, he is I don't know, he's world class dating coach. And so he absolutely has down the curriculum, the trainings and the teachings for the not only dating, but even just like interpersonal relationships, right? It's all kind of the same the game, if you will. And so, and then I cover a lot of the basis really from life experience. I look at things that I learned growing up, things that my father taught me, things that I learned after I moved away and went to college and had to deal with roommates and then growing up and you know, being a young father along the way, things that I have taught my children, things I continue to teach my children, things I will teach my children. So it can be anything from, you know, organizational and time management. It could be interview techniques, basic budgeting, a framework to self-assess, how to do financial budgeting, basic hygiene, travel tips, travel techniques, and then of course all those things inside you know, mental, physical fitness and interpersonal relationships. And so we have lessons, we have a curriculum. Follow that curriculum. One of the things that I'm a big believer in is you know, the group of coaches that we have. We've got this curriculum. We teach it, we promote it. We like to think we've curated that, right? It's each of us standing up and delivering you know, whatever the course is. And so it's not to say that we are, you know, the masters of these domains. There's certainly other sources, but since we curate it and we deliver that and we script that, we also interact with the young men that are in the group. We interact with them through Zoom calls. We sometimes do one-on-one type activity. We meet in real life and do some challenging things, almost like a course or final test and things like that. And so the idea though is that, like I mentioned earlier, if success in life requires that people develop competencies and skills in various areas, then that's the idea, is to teach these young men how to improve themselves, how to build those skills and hopefully get, you know, go towards a big successful legacy in the future. I'll pause there if you guys have any questions.
If one thing that I got to agree with you here, because one thing that took me way too long to learn is you need to find yourself a mentor to help you.
Yeah.
Way too long. I was always thinking to myself, I'm just gonna go do it myself, right? Lone wolf it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, you can figure it out for sure, right? Especially if you're competent, but you waste a lot of unnecessary time just trying to reinvent the wheel, rather than going to the wheelsmith and learning about it first.
That's right.
So yeah, I agree with you, man.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Nate. And you know, it's pretty impactful. Like it's a big to see somebody go through some of the course and just watch their mindsets evolve and watch them gain confidence and competence in certain areas and watch them go out and do things. I mean, it's super rewarding to see that happen and to be a part of that. And like you said, you know, gosh, if I had access to the information and the technology and the concepts that is so available now, if I had access to that, you know, 20, 30 years ago, good grief, what an amazing time it is for these young men to be alive.
And on that note, do you guys have, I presume that your target demographic is young men, but do you guys do age caps and stuff like this for this group, or is this all are welcome? Anyone come forth, whoever might decide to join this thing?
We don't have any official age caps. I think it trying to think of who might have been the oldest in the program. I would say we had some folks maybe a couple folks in their early 30s. but most everybody else are in their 20s.
Okay.
For sure. And but there's no gaps, or there's no caps. I think it's probably to really give it a good go, I'd say you're looking at 4 to 6 months in the program, taking it seriously, really to to make it through all of the content and to kind of establish that base. It's probably 4 to 6 months. People come into it sometimes, stick around for a month or a month or two, and maybe find out it's not for them, or they just can't overcome whatever inertia there is to learning, or maybe they go find something else. But the ones that stick it out to that kind of 4 to 6 months at least, one, they tend to stay longer than that, but two is when you really start to see the transformation, is that 4 to 6 month period.
You guys do I don't know if you had mentioned this, but you guys also have a Telegram group for your members as well. That's something I wanted to give a shout out to.
We do, and so that's the way that helps is we'll have scheduled calls from time to time, but then people have access to the coursework 24/7 through the website. But then they can also pop off questions. We can have dialogues and interactions through virtually through Telegram as well. It's things like this too. Is like maybe they're trying to master a proper kettlebell swing technique, right? For improving their fitness. So it's Telegram works out well because they can record themselves doing some kettlebell swings, and then they can pop it in there, and we can coach them up on technique changes and improvements and things like that. And it's not like being there in person, but it's the next best thing.
Excellent. And then the one last thing that I wanted to shout out, one thing that I really like that you guys do is you guys have I was looking through your website before we hopped on stream here, and I saw that there's an affiliate application. So this is something that's becoming more popular, is more and more young folks are becoming streamers and content creators and things of that nature online. I'm going to do a quick little shout out for you guys here. Your affiliate application is essentially like people who join the program, they can take the content, they can take the videos, and then they can post, they can make little shorts and things of that content, post it on their social medias, post it on their other like content creation, whether they're those YouTube channels that crank out like motivational videos or things like that, or like self-betterment help things, or whatever. People who have an audience of folks, they can take these videos that you guys make, chop them up, make them interesting, do stuff, and then put a little affiliate link in the bottom that'll basically direct people to this web page, is my understanding. And then at some point, your guys will either decide to buy that account from them or not buy that account from them, or whatever. And it just gives the folks a little bit of I don't know if passive income is the right word, because it takes a lot of effort to create the stuff, but it gives people the opportunity to practice their content creation and practice marketing on the internet and do all these sorts of things. So how did you guys come up with that idea, the affiliate marketing stuff?
Yeah, it's a great way to let other people market and sell your stuff, right? Because if they believe in it and they're become part of the affiliate program, then they make some social media, they pop their link down there, their affiliate link, and they're going to get a percent of signups. They're going to get a percent of the revenue coming in from the signups. So we looked at that and said, we can pay for promotion, or we can see if we can take former students and they can become affiliates and they're big believers, big promoters of the program, or it could be anybody, right? If somebody just wants to come in and sign up and get the affiliate link, then they can do it that way. I mean, we just saw it happening with other subscription type programs and other sales type programs, and we said, hey, let's make sure that we get that in our marketing arsenal.
Yeah, that is a cool new thing, and that's something that I've personally seen a lot more of in the recent past. Is there's a lot more like affiliate marketing as opposed to traditional, like, oh, we'll slap our name up on a billboard, or we'll run a 30-second ad, or we'll get a shout out on like a local radio station. It seems to me that like the big mechanism of marketing nowadays is attaching brands and stuff to content creators online, whether they're, you know, like people who have gone through your program, developed a real good idea for what your guys brand is, and then they become, you know, something of an influencer or content creator themselves, and then they can, you know, take a small percentage of like their mark. I think that the general stat is like about 1% of people who watch your content generally take action based on the things that you're saying. That's like the rough estimate. So if somebody out there has graduated from your guys' program and they chop up your guys' videos and they post them on their own social media, and, you know, they've got, you know, 300-400 people, then that's potentially 5 folks that could be bringing in you guys income, and then bringing them a cut of that. And I believe that the percentage was quite high. I want to say it was 20% or
Yeah, it
something
is
crazy like
20%.
that.
Yep.
That's freaking awesome. I've not seen affiliate marketing that like has that high of a kickback. So kudos for you guys for that. Panel, do you guys have any questions for Steve on the this thing? And then I'm gonna, while you guys are chatting real quick, I'm gonna scroll through the YouTube comments and see if there's anything in there.
Yeah, I'll fire off a couple. So when it comes to the folks, the young men that you have in the program, is it a pretty even split as far as folks that are seeking advice on you know, the physical aspect versus the financial aspect versus the dating aspect, or are the majority going towards one specific trend? Like, what are the I guess, how does it I don't know what's the word that I'm looking for. How does it split up? What is the interest? You know, what is there a majority interest in one area, or what are you seeing in the program?
Yeah, you know, I see a lot of things. I see a lot of things, Josh, where some of the young men get excited about being able to brush up on their interpersonal relationship skills and things like that. What we've designed the program to do is the introductory dozen lessons or so is really focused on their mindset and really capturing their attention on things like, you know, becoming a sayer, starting to build the self accountability and self discipline items. And so we like to think we've designed the program so that even if somebody shows up focused on one, that by immersing themselves into the program, they end up getting motivated to hit all of the areas. And so it's difficult to answer that question straight up, because what we do find is that people do embrace all the areas. I mean, so my coaching partner actually goes through and programs out some of the physical fitness pieces. And there is a month where one of the challenges is to get 10,000 kettlebell swings in 30 days. And you got to build up to that. And that takes work. It takes a lot of hard work, right? It takes a lot of focus. And so then, and again, as part of that introductory dozen or so lessons, we're also highlighting the fact that if you want to have better interpersonal relationships, then if you're more fit than not, that also impacts how people view you and how the world views you. And so you're probably going to have more success with interpersonal relationships if you appear to care more about your, you know, physical fitness and physical health. And so again, I think the program is designed to kind of bring it all together. But I'm sure people do show up with you know, one area more attractive than the other.
Well, it was kind of like what I did, you know, going to the gym and all that wasn't necessarily my number one thing. It was actually just to make some money, you know, get a little more comfortable life first. Hence why I dove into crypto. And after 2 years of becoming exit liquidity, I continued on and eventually got to the point where I, again, paid for mentorship, right? From shout out Charlie Miguel, Cultivate Crypto and Dollar Cost Crypto. And it was difficult when I got into that Citadel, because it was constant nonstop grinding. All I was left with was, what am I looking at here? What are these people talking about? I have no idea. even though I had technically been in crypto for 2 years. So yeah, and that took a huge amount of months and time, just nose to the grindstone, get home from work and just be like, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? and then, you know, taking action on it. And taking action, that's the big deal. And I think that's very underestimated, is actually taking action, not just learning it, but doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do the folks in the community, after they finish the program, do they have the opportunity to stick around and you know, to I guess leave a presence, or is it one of those things where they finish and then they're done with the program and they move on?
It's their they can stay as long as they want. Absolutely. And you know, we like that because you can actually see as they progress through the program. You know, let's use the example of, say, a kettlebell swing. Once they've kind of mastered that kettlebell swing and they've made it through the 10,000 swing challenge and things like that, then they start to learn to coach. They start to see what's wrong with other you know, new folks' techniques, and so they'll be chiming up inside the Telegram chat. And so again, it's as, you know, as they're interested, the opportunity is there for them to continue and kind of give back to the community as they continue on their path.
One of the things that the final thing I want to comment about in on this program that you guys offer is the pricing. And this is something that I think that a lot of people might be shocked at or might be surprised, but I think that there's good solid reasoning behind it, right? So your guys next gen gentleman program is $200 a month, essentially $197 a month, or it's $21.27 a year, so saving 10% annually. Something that that I think that is very important for people to think about, and I can say this confidently, having spent probably, I don't know if tens of thousands of dollars, but like at least over $10,000 on mentoring myself over the course of my lifetime. Probably a lot more than that. Figure I'm 30 years old. I haven't done all the math or anything, but I've definitely spent over 10 grand on mentoring. I would say that this is a fire deal when it comes to understanding the sort of things that you guys are offering here. And do I understand correctly that you guys launched on June 1st, or is that just the end of the pre-sale?
What are we, December? Yeah, that's about right. June 1st.
Okay. Yep. Sweet. So you guys are coming up on your half year anniversary.
Yeah, well, we had a pilot program that actually we started, call it a soft launch or a pilot program. It was branded differently back in September of 22.
Okay.
So we're technically past a year, just in terms of that, and that's how we kind of figured out that 4 to 6 months is kind of almost like a graduation kind of milestone. And it's also how we were able to, you know, refine the content and figure things out along the way. But yeah, we launched Next Gen Gentleman in June in its current incarnation.
Yeah. So like the trial period for the other stuff, and then the final product has been around for slightly over 6 months. Well, that is fantastic. So anyway, so the thing I want to, so I'm just mentioning the prices in passing, but like $200 a month or a little bit a year, and that is pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned, considering the amount of value that you will be extracting from this whole process. It kind of touches up on the whole thing that a lot of the I don't know if you want to call it like red pill or aware of like the world around you, you know, whatever brand association you want to put with it, you know. But these are like the things that it seems like a lot of male content creators are talking about, whether it's like, you know, the guys on Roll Zero or Fresh and Fit or Andrew Tate, or just like folks in the or like Chris Williamson, right? They're all focused on these aspects of male improvement in like the general, the finances, the fitness, the women, and like the the mental models, right? Whatever you want to call that. But so this is a fantastic price for all of those things combined into one, getting your guys, Zoom calls, personal Telegram, and all this stuff put together. So I just want to give you guys a shout out for that. If anybody in the channel wants to go join, the link is nextgengentleman.com. And of course, you can find all these descriptions below, and you can see on the scrolling Chiron banner here, all the stuff that that Steven is doing with that. So I know that we're going to do another hard transition here, guys. All right. So does anyone have any final questions on anything here? I didn't see anything in the chats, so we're about to just do a hard turn. All right, sweet. So Steven, I want to open this up for questions that you might have. I know that we had spoken about the Richard Hart ecosystem a little bit in the setup for this show. Do you have I want to open this up for you, for you, if you want to ask questions about the Richard Hart ecosystem or anything cryptocurrency, or I guess just anything period in general that you want to ask us, things like that. So have you got anything in that realm? Kind of putting you on the spot here, sorry. Oh no.
Are you asking me, or are you asking for the chat?
Yeah, you, Steve. You had mentioned before in our pre-call that you wanted to know some more things about Hex and Richard Hart and stuff.
Yes. So I'm curious because I know a little bit about the history of Hex and Richard Hart, and I was a Hex holder for a while, not anymore. I genuinely am curious about what is the value proposition for Hex as it sits today. If somebody were going to look to invest in Hex, what does that value proposition look like?
Well, the main idea right now is basically he's creating his own ecosystem that is Hex is supposed to be basically like Bitcoin, only Bitcoin done correctly. Richard Hart was originally a Bitcoin maxi who originally started mining Bitcoin back in the day, and he saw it turn into something that he didn't believe was true DeFi, at least not in the way that he thinks it is. And ultimately, I would kind of agree, because if you're looking at the institutions right now, you can see that they can't really control Bitcoin, but they can control the space around Bitcoin. And so they're building like a fence around it right now. So that way it's like, you can still stay in this area, but just you can't go out of the fence, right? And it seems like they're building that and so his idea with Hex was like, let's just go ahead and make something that they can't do that with. And I wouldn't say it's as private and crazy as like say Monero, but there's definitely he's trying to build on with that. And then on top of that too, he's also trying to build a technical better Ethereum with Pulse Chain. And so, I mean, it's already kind of proven itself, as well as a better non-fake DeFi Uniswap, and instead PulseX, which is true DeFi. So yeah, Jeff, you got anything to add on with all that?
Well, I think he was asking over the value proposition. I think Richard's talked a couple of times that his problem with Bitcoin sometimes is along the lines of, I think the top 3, maybe top 4, I forget the exact numbers, I might be wrong, was the large mining corporations that own all the miners. My chair just keeps falling back. The top 3 or 4 mining corporations, they own the majority of the miners throughout the world. So therefore, to an extent, they have a monopoly on that. So I've heard him talk about that a few times. But essentially what he does is takes the time element and uses that as the value proposition. So he launched it on Ethereum, and then basically the issue was people were making stakes. And let's say, for example, you're a whale and you're not worried about a $50 Ethereum gas fee because you're worth millions. That's fine. But let's say average Joe wants to do weekly stakes or monthly stakes or anything like that. You have people who, when it was time to end their stake, it cost them more to end it than they made in value. So that's where the whole Pulse Chain ecosystem comes from. And yeah, that's really about it.
So where's the best source to find information out about, Pulse Chain, PulseX, things like that?
Well, they all have websites. You got pulsechain.com. You have Hex Scout. Go ahead, Will. What you got?
I was about to plug Hex Scout. So Hex Scout just came out recently. Hex Scout is it's a fantastic onboarding tool for people, for folks that are brand new to the Richard Hart ecosystem, whether it's Pulse Chain, whether it's Hex, whether it's learning about DeFi or anything of that nature. Hexscout.com really walks everyone. It does the it's the beginner to intermediate zone. So for people who want to learn about the Richard Hart ecosystem and to want to learn about Hex, how to stake, how to bridge, how to use decentralized exchanges, creating wallets, things of that nature. So hexscout.com. Let me double check and make sure I've got that that link correct here. I'm opening it up. Yeah, hexscout.com. And then another one is Go Real DeFi, I believe, is the other one that just came out recently. Go Real DeFi.com. Yep. Okay. So that's another one. That's actually a that directs people to all of the front ends and the decentralized applications that people can use. Because recently one of the things that happened. So GoRealDeFi.com is more for like if you need a one-stop shop for all the links for everything, this takes you to the place. And it's essentially a link collection of IPFS protocols that allow people to access the blockchain from their personal computer or access it through a decentralized web application or something of that nature. One of the things, and the thing that spurred this was when Uniswap, one of the main decentralized exchanges, delisted Hex for being able to be sold on the exchange, and so did Matcha, and I believe 1inch. I don't quote me on that, but I know that Uniswap was the first one, and so people started wondering like, hey, these decentralized exchanges are starting to make centralized decisions about things, and so, well, we can't necessarily rely on it anymore. That's also where PulseX came from, and then so Richard took it one step further and made all the front ends for all of the functional tools to access the system, whether it's the decentralized exchange, PulseX, whether it's the bridge, whether it's the block scanner, whether it's the Explorer and the Launchpad. They made all these things decentralized, so people can download I think it's called APFS files. I don't know exactly what the files are, what they are, but it runs a command line on your computer that opens up the website and lets you interact with the blockchain, basically directly from your computer, similar to like I think how nodes work on the Bitcoin. Well, actually not similar to Bitcoin nodes, but it essentially allows you to access the blockchain using your computer as long as you have an internet connection and not needing to rely on like Amazon Web Services to host your website, or the government of Sweden deciding like, hey, we're going to sue your whatever, and then we're going to force Google to like block this site or this, that, and the other thing. So let me kind of bring it back a little bit to answer your question. What is the value proposition for Hex or for the Richard Hart ecosystem? That was your first question, right? Yeah. So the general value proposition is
right. Yeah, for somebody that would be
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say for somebody that would be like to invest today, right? So somebody who doesn't have a history of it, like just what's that like?
Oh, what's the pitch? Okay,
Hex,
the pitch is
by PulseX, yeah, that kind of thing.
Oh, well, I would encourage people to learn about things before they just ape in and buy. But the general idea is if you want to buy Hex, then that's essentially, or if you're looking for reasons to buy each one of them, Hex is delayed gratification. So it is a token that uses a time lock mechanism for you to basically save yourself from selling your coins. So the way that Bitcoin works is when Bitcoin is created, when it's mined, it's printed out of thin air by people doing calculations on a computer that's very difficult. When Hex is created, the way that it comes into fruition is there's people that decide to destroy their amount of Hex today in exchange for a smart contract that prints them more in the future. So it's like a and the only way that Hex comes into existence is it's printed into existence by people destroying their current value today in order to get a slightly higher number in the future. So inflation is given to people who use delayed gratification, and it's like I think 3.69% a year maximum or something like that. But the pitch for Hex is it's monetized delayed gratification. The pitch for Pulse Chain, which is the basically the copy of Ethereum that everything now runs on.
Better.
So there's still Hex on Ethereum. Hex on Ethereum still exists. If you want to buy Hex on Ethereum and use Ethereum to stake your Hex, you can do that. It's just, again, you're paying Ethereum transaction fees, which can be anywhere from $2 all the way up to $250, depending on like what point in the market you're at, right? And until Ethereum starts like bringing out sharding and other like information compacting technologies, the prices for transactions are going to be expensive. So Pulse Chain is the solution for the expensive prices. It's essentially just a mechanism for you to do swaps, to do trades, to do bridges, to do all of these things that require a computation on the network. It allows you to do it for like pennies on the $1,000, right? Compared to Ethereum. Like I think one Pulse Chain is I think it's like a 10,000th of a cent or somewhere in that area. It's like 4 zeros and then a number after the period, right? So for dollars and things. So like in order for Pulse Chain to get to a penny, I think it has to do like 1,000x or something like that. So don't quote me on those exact numbers. I'm pulling those off the top of my head. But the point is, it's incredibly cheap to do Pulse Chain transactions. It's very expensive to do Ethereum transactions. But it's essentially a copy of the entire chain. So when Pulse Chain first launched, it was the elevator pitch is it's the world's largest airdrop, right? So everybody who had coins on Ethereum, those coins were copied and they exist in those exact same Ethereum wallets on Pulse Chain. So if your coins were in a centralized exchange, that's unfortunate. Sorry to hear that. You don't have access to them because you don't have the keys. But if you have if you hold your own keys in your own wallet, then everything that you had on Ethereum is now also on Pulse Chain. So now there's not necessarily an exact value transference between the two. Like if you got a copy of DAI or USDC or Tether or some sort of stable coin, then you don't get the actual stable coin, you just get a representative copy, right? And those, like, the only value that those have is whatever the liquidity pools gave them when they opened up. So like if you got a copy of DAI or USDC or something on Pulse Chain, it's worth like pennies or something. But like people who bridge in their DAI and their Ethereum and they bridge in assets from Pulse Chain, then those bridged assets are a 1-for-1 copy for whatever the Ethereum price is. So
I would say with
got
Pulse Chain, though, one of the main things that the reason why I'm so heavily invested in Pulse Chain is because the Hexakin community, quite frankly, is the biggest, if well, at least one of the biggest for sure, but they're definitely for sure the loudest. That is guaranteed. And because they're the loudest and because Richard Hart has done a lot of outrage marketing, we'll say, and able to get attention, he's made a lot of enemies, and so there's been a lot of gatekeeping for Hex. And so the thing with Pulse Chain or Pulsicans and Hexicans is that we've all gotten to the point where it's like we can't rely on other people to make things for us. We have to do everything ourselves. And quite frankly, we are doing everything ourselves. We're creating every single thing that's on Ethereum, every single thing that's on Binance, every single thing that's on Bitcoin. We're creating it all ourselves on Pulse Chain. The funny thing is, though, people are so devoted. It's almost like a cult, right? That people are so devoted to it that they make it better, and it tends to work better. And there's a lot less bad actors, as say like a Binance, Smart Chain, right? And that's one of the main reasons. And this is also, you got to think as well, this is a brand new L1, so it is going to do well anyways. That is a guarantee. So, Jeff, did you have anything to add on with like PulseX and all that? Because I know there's a burn, there's a buy and burn feature with PulseX that is extremely bullish.
Yeah, there's a buy and burn feature. So a long time ago, I did numbers with Uniswap compared to Ethereum. And if Uniswap would have had speaking of Uniswap, Hex is what made Uniswap a thing. Without Hex, Uniswap would be nothing. They're the one that Richard Hart, like you said, did more advertising and got more volume on Uniswap than gotta forget his name, the owner of it.
So PulseX is a fork. PulseX is a fork of Uniswap. That's the last token that I was going to cover for the like what are the core Richard Hart coins is you've got Hex, you've got Pulse Chain, and you've got PulseX. And the PulseX is essentially the exact copy swap of like Ethereum's Uniswap. So it's just a decentralized exchange. It all runs on smart contract. There are no admin keys. It's all just like it exists and it works. And the feature that Jeff, why don't you go ahead and talk about the buy and burn feature for the PulseX token?
It has a built-in buy and burn. So every time there's a transaction on PulseX itself, a percentage of the transaction fee buys PulseX and burns it forever. So just from volume alone, that I guess technically not even having to purchase that coin itself, you still have a mechanism through other coins being purchased that is still buying PulseX and deleting it from existence or where you can ever access it.
Yep. So the percentage I want to say is 0.05% of every transaction is turned into buying PulseX off of the open market, not off of an origin address or a shared thing. It buys it out of the open liquidity pool and it sends it off to the burn address, and then that PulseX essentially ceases to exist. So
it's deflationary.
Yeah, it's a
3% burn.
Deflationary.
3% of the total supply is going forever.
Yeah, in a bear.
In a bear market, wait till transaction volume picks up and all that. So, Steve, I got a question for you. You said you were a Hex holder and now you're not. Can I ask you why aren't you anymore?
It was back. Let's just say it was back in 21. And I think at the time I looked at it, and then once I started understanding more about, let's just say, tokenomics. And I just say, hey, you know what? I want to go invest something else. I'm going to just swap out my Hex for ETH or whatever and go invest that somewhere else. I just started looking at it and saying, hey, I don't see the next upside as we're going into the bear. So I wasn't doing the buy and hold on it.
Yep.
Fair enough. I was just curious.
So is that
familiar with the T shares and everything, how it works?
Yeah, I never did that. I was just holding it in an ETH wallet.
Okay, fair enough.
But, yeah, I'm curious. In the Pulse chain world, so in the Ethereum world, things are going up. Things are looking like we're heading into a bull market. Is as you guys are building in the Pulse chain world, are you also seeing things appreciate as well?
So actually, as of right now, there is appreciation. I think technically speaking, we're from the very bottom, we're up. Was it a 10x, I believe, as of currently? However, we're not nearly popping as much as possible because actually there is some SEC issues with Richard Hart. However, the interesting thing is the only thing that they're coming after him for was that he used the sacrifice money and the people who bought the tokens money to go buy things. But the funny thing is it's a blockchain, so you can see where the money went and it has not moved at all. So that alone means that what they're trying to get him on is invalid. And if you look at all the losses that the SEC and Gary Gensler have already endured, this is just going to be another one. And so here's the big and extremely bullish thing going on. There's been a lot of people currently in the space, the Hexagon Pulsican space, who are like, do I really believe in this anymore? And then I just simply say, hey, you do understand that this is basically like a spring coil, and it just keeps pulling back. Because here's what's going to happen. People, especially all the people in this community, they tend to buy when Richard Hart hypes things up, right? And then it goes absolutely insane. That's what happened with Hex alone. So now we have PulseX and Pulse added onto that. And so what's going to end up happening, at least what I can see Richard Hart doing, is just kind of waiting it out, letting that spring, get as far back as possible. And then going into the SEC basically saying you can't touch me, and then the judge will basically throw it out because it's just useless. Either that or something else happens with SEC. I really can't see them losing that match at all. But then what he's going to do is he's going to come right back out after, you know, the founder has supposedly gone away, gotten rid of all the whales, and now all of a sudden he's going to be like, hey, I told you guys, told you so. And then he starts doing his whole outrage marketing again. And what that's going to do is that's going to launch it to the moon, right? And I really hate using that word because I spent 2 years hearing going to the moon, going to the moon, going to the moon, and then end up losing everything, right? But in this particular case, I can really see how all these little pieces are kind of fitting together to it's almost like it's too easy of a game at this point, and all you just got to do is kind of like just stick them together, you know. What do you call that? Draw the dots, right? So that's what I'm seeing right now. And like, I think it's funny when people will look at a 10x from the bottom and be like, oh yeah, you're not moving very much. It's like, really? Okay. But
where are you getting a 10x from? What coin 10x? What are you talking about?
Has Pulse Chain 10x since the bottom?
I don't
if you need to correct me on that, please do.
Yeah, that's what it hasn't 10x since I'm looking at Pulse right now, and Pulse did a 2x. Pulse did a 2x from the bottom, but then it came back down. It's up 50% from the bottom right now. So
So
to answer your question, how it launched is it had a somewhat decent run up, and then it had like a 80 to 90% sell off, and it's still in that accumulation phase right now. So that's what the chart's looking like right now. Leave it up to you if by your definition that means things are starting to get bullish or anything like that. But that's where the chart's sitting right now. We are 50% off the bottom. So I mean, we still have a long way to go to even get, to be able to break into new all-time highs. But yeah, that's where we are right now.
I think a lot of it is there are a lot of upgrades. I think he probably already has available for Pulse X and this and that. I think he's purposely using the SEC FUD. Like Nate already says, he didn't. I mean, I can't speak for Richard. Maybe he did, but it's all on record. I don't think somebody who was buying millions of dollars of Bitcoin at $1 needs a couple $1 million to go buy a Ferrari, but maybe he does. I think he's using a culmination because he's already said he doesn't. He stated it takes about 50 weeks to get weak hands out. So he's not going to launch all these updates. He doesn't want to give any people that a lot of people got into Pulse Chain because of what happened to Hex, not Hexkins. If you see right now on Telegram and YouTube, you have twice as many Pulse Chain YouTubers as Hex. What it tells me is a lot of people came into the space because Hex did so well. So they came in to expect a quick 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever X off of Richard. He doesn't want those people in the ecosystem. Richard wants a parabolic vertical chart. So if you have people that are selling out of 10x, he wants to weed them all out. So I believe he's using the SEC FUD and all this and all that to weed those people out. He doesn't care what happens until the Bitcoin happening. He hopes whoever needs to get out gets out. That's what I think. So I think it's a culmination of he's using this as opportunities to get the weak hands out that truly, in his opinion, don't belong. And then he does whatever he's got to do against the SEC. Oh, really? You think I stole funds or I use funds? Okay, boom. Here's a record. This is my bank account. This money's been in here forever. I didn't. But regardless, he starts streaming. He does all this, but he has no reason to release Pulse X single-sided staking or new liquidity farms. Or I think he's going to increase the ink farms, all the farms to get people re-engaged. He's going to stream more. He's going to do all that. But until he thinks, because he's spoken many times that he doesn't think the bottom of the market is in until after any recession that's ever happened. He said once the Fed decreases rates, that's when you see the bottom. People sell a lot of stuff off so they can buy back cheaper. So he said that for a long time. So he could be waiting for that. There's a culmination of things. So I think he's absolutely going to wait as long as possible till he believes the bottom's in. And then it probably already is in, but he's going to wait to get all these weak hands out before he unleashes everything that he has planned. He stated multiple times that he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve, and in his mind, there's no real reason to do that now while the market is doing what it's doing and people are getting out. And if you looked at Hex, I think last bull, Nate, and I think Hex did its run up. I think it was delayed. I think it was like 4 weeks. Hex kept going down and down and down, and then Bitcoin took off, and then 4 weeks later, Hex just shot up like a rocket. And I'm expecting something similar.
Yeah, I'm actually expecting something similar to what he did with Hex, because originally what he did before the parabolic mountainous green candles was that he actually, like, there was like waves where it went up and then down and up and then down, and this happened 3 times. And if you look back in history, talk to the OG Hexicans, they said that basically, like, he would start doing things that would make people like want to buy in, right? And then he would be like, oh no, it's all going to zero, it was a rug, and then people would just sell, and then he would do it again and again and again, and he would do that until basically it couldn't, people would just be like, okay, I'm just going to hold, I really don't care at this point. And
the people that were out are out. The people that are out are gone. They're out. We got them out. Cool.
That's the paper hands thing, right? That's so it's like the strength of your holders, the strength of the community itself, galvanizing, I guess could be a good word for that.
Sure.
I'm kind of seeing a little bit of similar stuff because I was not a part of, obviously, the original Hexicans, but in hearing all these stories, looking at the charts on them, I'm looking at it going, it kind of seems fairly similar, where a lot of people, only he's letting the community do it this time. Hey, buy up. And then more FUD walks in, people start exiting, but some people start still holding. And we're going to get to a point here pretty soon. I would say within the next probably 4 months, maybe, probably the next 4 months, where it eventually people are just going to, I don't care, I'm just going to hold. And then that's when, again, and it's going to be past the Bitcoin halving at that time. Bitcoin's going to have a huge run up. ETFs are out. All that's happening, and people are going to want to start moving their Bitcoin profits and or Ethereum profits as well. If we get the Ethereum ETFs into these alts, and if Hex Pulse Chain, whatever, is doing what it did in the last time around, they're going to want to dump into that, and there's going to be a lot of money falling in.
Hold on, just 1 second, Jeff. I'll let you go here in a second. I just want to remind the folks at home that these are all, like, none of us know what Richard Hart's going to do. These are all the theories that we have based on his past performance, right? So take everything that we say with a grain of salt. It's essentially, like I say this often, these are the campfire stories that we tell ourselves, right? We don't know what Richard's going to do. It's not necessarily wise to count on him to do the same things that he did before, right? Take everything that we say is not financial advice. This is all us speculating on what we think might happen, right? So now when we talk about, like, things that we think that Richard's going to do, it's literally just like, we're not inside of his mind, right? We just think that he's going to do this stuff based on a lot of the things that he's done in the past, and just sort of kind of like extrapolating that into the future. So not financial advice. We don't know for sure what Richard's going to do. This is just a pattern of behavior that some of us have noticed here and there. Jeff, go ahead and say your final piece, and then, gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up with closures and things.
Yeah, this is all speculative. Honestly, the system doesn't even need Richard. I know people think it does, but the reason he's creating it is so they don't need him. But yeah, so Nate, you were just talking about the halving. Richard said it takes 50 weeks to get the weekends out. And when is that? We're literally like a week before after the halving. But one thing you said that I think I don't agree with, you said you're going to see him come back out, beats the SEC, he's going to outrage marketing. He said on one of his streams, he said, you won't see that Richard anymore. He said from now on, you're going to see old Richard, who actually he's always wanted to help the community, but actually wanted to give good advice and help people and stuff like that. So I don't think you're going to see the flashy Richard. I think the outrage marketing.
We'll see the interviewing type again. We'll see the interviewing type. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
All righty. Excellent. And that's a good spot. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let me just add one last piece of thing. And this is what makes our community so good, because Jeff, Nate, and Will, they are pretty strong believers in the Hex ecosystem. And it's not that I'm not, but I don't hold as strong views as they do. So we have a big, diverse opinion on our panel. Me personally, as a rational investor, I bought into Hex. I'm holding Hex, but like looking at the chart as a rational investor, my opinion, I wouldn't be putting any more money into it. But that's just me. Given the chart, seeing how things look, because the fact of the matter is that if you bought Hex, if you bought Hex after the summer or the fall of 2020, then you are down on your investment right now. The only people that are up got hexed prior to the summer or the fall of 2020. And that's just the case. That's just the fact of the matter right now. But you know, I do hold it. Yeah, I mean, I got diamond hands, so I'm going to hold on to it forever. And that's money that I've allocated. That's just like, if it goes to zero, it goes to zero. As far as with the Pulse chain, I invested and I sacrificed for Pulse chain, and we'll see how that plays out. As of right now, the price performance isn't anywhere near where people thought it would be. But we're still in an accumulation phase. So, you know, if the new L1 on the block decides to take off this bull cycle, that's awesome. I'll be right there for it. We're all going to be right there for it. But at the end of the day, you know, did this blockchain miss the party? We don't know. You know, we still have to find out. So, but that's, you know, the diverse opinions of this channel and of this group that we have is, you know, it's all about respect, and it's all about bouncing ideas off of each other. So,
and to be fair too, I'm not necessarily like Richard Hart ecosystem only, because I'm also hugely into Phantom and the Polygon ecosystems as well. Those two, and I'm moving into AVAX as well, even further. So I'm not necessarily like it's only about Hex, you know. But I will say Pulse Chain is the funnest one, and so therefore it's become my favorite. But
yeah, and absolutely, it's
a lot of fun too.
It's exciting because for a lot of us, it's our first brand new experience into an L1, and that's what makes it awesome. Is we were here from day one, you know, and so by you know, naturally because of that, we want to see it succeed. You know, I have a different investment strategy, and just my financial principles just might be a little bit different than other folks. And I take a whole lot of other things into consideration. It's just different investment strategies. But I certainly want to see it succeed. Are we there yet? We're not there yet. Can I personally say it's better than Ethereum? I mean, yeah, it's faster than Ethereum, but what metrics are we using to define if it's better than Ethereum? If we're talking price, then it's not better than Ethereum. If we're talking price performance over time, it's not better than Ethereum. So, you know, it all comes down to the individual person, and, you know, the diverse opinions of this channel is what makes this channel awesome. So, Will.
Yeah, I would say based on that, like, I completely agree. Like, I appreciate the diversity of opinion on there. And so, for the record, I did sacrifice myself. So I'm hoping,
there you go.
I'm hoping L1 takes off, and
yeah, for sure,
we get a lot of excitement around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. All right, Will, back to you, buddy.
Yes, I wanted to, Steve, if you have any other questions for us, then now would be the time to ask them. If not, we're going to start round robining off, plugging our socials, plugging what we're doing, and things of that nature. So are you all covered, or do you still got some things for us?
I'm covered. I love it.
All right, excellent. Okay, so we're going to start with Josh, then we'll go Jeff, then Nate, and then Steve will save the best for last. So why don't you guys go ahead and tell us what you got going on in the near future. Josh, hit it.
Yeah, man. Awesome conversation, Steve. Thank you so much. Hopefully you hang out in the green room after. I'd love to have a little afterwards conversation with you. But yeah, so my name is Josh. You guys can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Chocolate Taints. As far as what we got coming up, we got the Sunday episode, 8:00 Sunday, for our regular DJ Roundtable. And then we're taking next Wednesday off because of our team meeting. So we're not going to have an episode next Wednesday. So we're not going to be doing Whiskey Wednesday. But then, planning different things coming around the end of the year and going into the beginning of 2024. Right now, I'm in the process of getting Access Alive, Toby One, Hexobi, Jay, and Crypto Boogie together to do a monster TA stream in 2024. So I've gotten sort of verbal thumbs up for those guys so far. So we're looking the beginning of January for that time frame. But prior to that, our regular contents, We're going to have some really cool announcements coming up in the near future about where you guys will be able to find us, as far as, maybe on different channels. Some of the guys may be out, talking on different channels and stuff like that. So just sort of coordinating all that. That's all I got, constantly behind the scenes doing stuff. So what about you, Jeff? What you got coming up?
I'm going to be doing the portfolio tracker. Got already have everything entered. Me and Nate were talking about filming it. Hopefully we'll do that tomorrow if we can. God, this chair. And besides that, just buying more Pulse Chain and Hex. That's about it.
Nate, what about you, bro?
So I'm just waiting for Jeff to fall off his chair eventually.
I'm getting close. Josh, buy when others are fearful. You heard me, Josh?
Say that again.
I said buy when others are fearful.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, my Ascending Man stream about the death of crypto was delayed. That was supposed to have been done yesterday. I got all my notes together. I actually got it all put together, and I was like, let's do it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh wait, you can't do this until there's a lock period. And I'm like, wow, okay, really? So yeah, I think I'll just wait till next week and make that my official launching period for that one. The Ascending Man for me is quite frankly just I have a lot more interest than only crypto. So it's going to be talking about different things of interest, talking about interesting things, right? That's kind of the main idea. But yes, for sure on here, we're going to be continuing to always give the best possible information. We definitely don't want people to run out there and experience what I ended up experiencing, which was just pure, exit liquidity, feeling bad about crypto, it's a scam and all that. That is a terrible thing for people to have to go through. And so we're trying to help as many people as possible on this channel. And Steve, I really appreciate you getting on here, talking about the security side of things. That is absolutely amazing. I can tell that you're definitely one of those guys that really wants to try and help out as many people as possible. And I highly respect that. And on that word, I'll send it over to you to say the final outs, man.
Thanks, Nate.
So Steve, for this part, just let the folks know where can they find you if they want to follow any of your socials. What are some projects that you're working on? And just plug whatever you want, bro.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so nextgengentleman.com is where we have the Next Gen Gentleman program and the courseware. That's you can subscribe to that if you're a young man looking to improve your life and start building a legacy. And then Proverity Solutions is my page. That's where I do all my cybersecurity consulting work. That's where I'm based out of there. And the big project I'm working right now is this Bronta thing. It's the website is bronta.pro, and that is what we talked about earlier. It's like antivirus, but for your crypto. It's software that you install on your computer. It runs just like antivirus on startup. And it provides protection for Bitcoin things, decentralized cryptocurrency things. It provides protection for Bitcoin, for any EVM-based chains. And it does things like recovery seed protection and address and clipboard protection. It'll check for DApp and tainted addresses. It'll have some whitelisting and blacklisting features soon. Wallet and system integrity checking. And again, it's like having a trusted concierge looking over your shoulder as you're doing crypto things or DeFi things. And it's just watching and validating and warning and checking on things behind the scenes for you. It'll bring things to the surface if it thinks it needs to. So the idea is that you have a trusted partner working with you. So excited to get that launched. We've got it in a beta state right now. And again, that's available at bronta.pro.
All right, sweet. And I want to further plug Bronta.pro. I signed up for it earlier. It is currently $5 a month, marked down from $30 a month. If you guys sign up in the near future, then you get to lock in that price for the first year. So I don't know if you want to spend $25 less a month and save yourself. Let's see if I can do some math here. $300 a year. Then hey, now's the time to sign up. And it's currently available for Mac users, and Windows and Linux are coming in the future. as I recall correctly, right, Steve?
That's right.
Hell yeah. All right. Do some marketing for you. All right. So I want to thank you, Steve, for joining us on this fantastic podcast. This has been an excellent discussion. It's been super cool chatting with you and getting to know you behind the scenes and reading your book and everything. I can't recommend this book heavily enough. Again, this is Securing Wallets by Stephen Bates, and you can find it on Amazon. There's the little QR code. I don't know if that will if that'll take you to a thing to buy it or not, but it will probably at the very least give you an ISBN number. But anyways, you can find that book in the description in the links below. What am I working on in the near future myself? So I've got the Hex Meetup template that I'm creating. So if you guys are Hexicans, you want to meet up with other Hexicans, then you go to bit.ly/hex_meetup_template. And what this will do is this will take you to an Excel spreadsheet that's on like Google Docs or whatever the thing is called. And basically to whatever extent you're comfortable with, you put in your information, whether it's your Telegram handle or your Instagram or your Twitter handle or some mechanism for people to contact you if they're in your area and they want to meet up with you. And then you also type in like what city you live in or what state if you're not comfortable putting in your city, right? Of course, only put in the amount of information that you're comfortable with to the extent that you want to dox yourself. And then from there, like this document is public. Anyone can edit it. So anyone can go in there and see your stuff. They can follow all your social media or you know, whatever info you put in there, it just consider it like broadcast out to the open public. But the idea of this thing is for Hexicans and just crypto people in general, but specifically Hexicans, just because that's what I like, right? Is to get together and meet up. And I've already met like 2 or 3 people just from having this Excel document up. I haven't forgotten about you, Rod. And oh shoot, I can't remember. You're in the chats, and I have you in my Telegram. So I'm gonna come meet up with you guys down there in Central Texas in the very near future. The next thing we got going up is Zenith is not here to promote book club, so I'm gonna promote it for him. I'm pretty sure that for our next book club that we are going to be covering my mother's book, how to. Oh shoot, oh damn it, I can't remember the name. How to Save Yourself from the IRS or damn, I am just blanking on what my mother's book is, but it's stuff about how to avoid trouble with the IRS. There we go. All right. So if you guys next week on Friday, I'm pretty sure we're going to either next week or this week, man, I really need to think about these things before I start trying to plug them. But anyways, we're going to be covering how to avoid trouble with the IRS written by my mother in preparation for the interview that I'm going to be doing with my mom on this same channel on the 27th of December. So if you guys are interested and you're a small business owner and you want to save yourself trouble and headaches with the IRS, then this is the book for you. And this is definitely the interview for you. My mom's been an enrolled agent with the IRS for like, I think 10 or so years or something like that. She helps folks with their TurboTax, and she does consulting, and she's written books, and she's basically just a tax aficionado. So make sure you guys pay attention to that. So the book club, interviewing my mother. Also, make sure you guys join our Telegram, right? The link is down below in the description, but if you don't know how to click on links and instead you want to go up into your URL at the top of your website and you type in bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable, all lowercase, then that will take you directly to our Telegram channel. And from there, you guys can join our Telegram. It's free for now. It's absolutely awesome. We got like 111 people or 115 people or something in that realm of folks in there, but it's still a small community. We haven't grown to the point of being unsustainable yet, where like the chat just gets filled up with noise and everything. So it's still very personable. We got a lot of quality content creators in there. We've got Crypto Boogie, we've got us, we've got Walrus, we've got Just Ask Jesse, we've got Sloth, we've got all sorts of folks in there, all sorts of people, and you know, obviously the community as well. So if you guys have questions, then feel free to ask in that Telegram, and somebody will reach out and help you out and chat you up. And plus, we just post memes in there and just have a general good time. So join our Telegram. Make sure that you guys like this video, that you write a comment if you really, really want to get that good engagement. You share this on your social media, and that you just have a great time. And Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get ready to end this stream and give us the final credits. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you degen responsibly.